I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Psalms, chapter 14, and let's focus on verses 1 through 7. The fool has said in his heart, "There is no God." They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none who does good. The Lord looks down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there are any who understand, who seek God. And they have all turned aside. They have together become corrupt. There is none who does good, no, not one. Have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread, and do not call on the Lord? There they are in great fear, for God is with the generation of the righteous. You shame the counsel of the poor, but the Lord is his refuge. Oh, that the salvation of Israel would come out of Zion. When the Lord brings back the captivity of his people, let Jacob rejoice and Israel be glad. Several years ago, I was living in California. I loved my time there, by the way, and I was teaching Bible studies in various coffee shops. A young man at that time got quite angry at me when I put forth that certain psalms were prophetic, that they spoke of the Messiah, Jesus, who would come many generations later, and how the Psalms speak of other events that did not occur until after the psalmist had long passed. This guy was so mad. And of course, I shared today's psalm along with a few others, and then I posed the question, were the people of Israel in exiled captivity during David's lifetime? Undeniably, they were not. And in trying to understand today's psalm, perhaps it helps to read it in reverse. Because if we read it from the top down, we tend to get stuck on the idea that all men have turned aside and become corrupt. And it's not until a little later in the psalm that we recognize that there was, even then present at that time, a generation of the righteous. It's not that all men had turned away. So if all men are corrupt and never seek God, well then how does a righteous generation exist? And of course, by the end of the psalm, we learn that salvation comes not from the works of unrighteous men who summoned the faith from within in order to earn their salvation. Rather, salvation has always come, as it does now, from the atoning work of the Lord himself. And we see that even in the Old Testament. Now consider Zechariah chapter 3, verses 3 and 4. Now Joshua, the high priest, was clothed with filthy garments, and he was standing before the angel, that is the angel of the Lord. And then he answered and spoke to those who stood before him, saying, "Take away the filthy garments from him." And to him he said, "See, I have removed your iniquity from you, and I will clothe you with rich robes." You see, only when the Lord saves, only when the Lord takes away the iniquity. You say, well, an angel said that. No, the angel of the Lord, capital A angel, is not just an angel from the Lord. That is a title for the Messiah. Before he was born as a baby, he has existed forever. So only when the Lord saves and removes your iniquity will captives truly be set free. Because the captivity of God's people is not solely defined as unwilling restraint by a foreign people, right? We're not in captivity just because another nation has dominated us. True captivity, which all mankind holds in common, is that we are held captive by sin and death. And both sin and death have been defeated on the cross by the Lord himself, the Messiah, Jesus. Notice how the prophet Isaiah describes that generation for which the Messiah atones for their sin. Isaiah 53, verses 6 through 10. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way. And the Lord has laid on him, the Messiah, the iniquity of us all. Just like he said to Joshua the high priest, I have removed your iniquity from you. He was oppressed, he was afflicted, and yet opened not his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and judgment. And who will declare his generation? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgressions of my people he was stricken, and they made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death. Remember, Jesus was crucified with in between two thieves, as if he was a thief. They killed him with the wicked, but he was laid to rest with the rich. There was a rich man's tomb that was hewn out, and that's where they laid him at his death, because he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. And yet it pleased the Lord. Not pleased him like makes God happy. I'm so happy to see Jesus suffer. No, pleased the Lord means it satisfied the requirements of the Lord for sin, to bruise him. He was put to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. Meaning, yeah, he's cut off from the land of the living, but he'll resurrect again, and then he'll see his offspring. And he shall prolong his days. God will prolong the days of the Messiah, raise him from the dead. And the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Think about these things as you go about the day. The great salvation which has been given to us by Jesus. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Now, Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And your giving to Groundworks Ministries transforms lives. Would you consider making a donation to Groundworks Ministries today? Because we need your monthly support now more than ever. Donating is secure and easy at our website, groundworksministries.com. You know, another way to help is to tell people about Groundworks Ministries, to share these podcasts with friends and family, and on your social media. And of course, you can always direct folks to our website, groundworksministries.com.